megawatts of new generation capacity through the cross-border of 2,000 megawatts of new generation capacity through load shedding. My name is, firstly, I'm the full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for electricity regulation committee. And I'll also be chairing this public hearing panel. I'd like to introduce the members of the panel, who are also members of the, in no order of importance. I'll start with Mr. Muzi Mkhize, who is the full-time member of the regulator for petroleum pipeline regulation and is the member of the ELS. Mr. Mkhize, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson, and
so the member of the electricity subcommittee. Madam Maseti.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members, and good afternoon to all the stakeholders that are part.
And a member of the electricity subcommittee. Advocate.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hope I am visible enough.
You are.
At different gadgets, since I've indicated that I'm impacted by load shedding now. Thank also wish to say good afternoon to all the members that have joined us.
Thank you, Advocate Sitola. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tembani Pokula, who's not new to everybody, who's the chairperson at Petro SA and also a member of the electricity subcommittee. Mr. Pokula.
Mistake.
Did I say Petro SA?
Everyone, unfortunately.
I'd like to thank the members. There is one member of the committee who unfortunately couldn't make it today. Today, we don't need to actually have to form a quorum. We are here to listen. We're not here to make any decision. I'd like to then proceed and say this hearing was duly advertised in the Business Day, the BL, Sowetan, and also advertised on the NERSA social media platforms, as well as the NERSA website. It is held in accordance with the National Energy Regulator Act, NERSA rules on public hearings, which can be summarized as follows. All parties that would be required that are making presentation would be required to make their presentations under oath. The presenters would be 18 minutes. We only have one today. And only the members of the panel may ask questions at walter.mabunda@nersa.org.za. And the panel, should the presenters wish to present information they consider confidential, the panel will make a ruling on whether to close the hearing or to have the information submitted in writing at NERSA_ZA. And this recording on our system would be the official record of this meeting. The House rules are very simple. We just request that when someone is making a presentation to kindly switch off microphones off, and also to keep your videos off, just to also facilitate with the bandwidth. Only switch on the video when we are being asked to be sworn in or when we are presenting. Otherwise, time. We only have one presenter to today's public hearing, and that's going to be Ms. Liz McDade from Green Connection NPC. We, however, have if there's anybody else that would be, namely, just name them. The first one would be Kolani Simelani and Adrian Paul from also Singh, Klasen Kune and Amara Ibrahim from NetBank. Third, Jacob Wilkins, Stefanji. We also have a request from Bugelwa Nzimande from Greenpeace Africa. Another one from Yako Human from the other one is Pumeza Mangesi, Daniel Matomoche, Sinazo Andrew Epsinger, Kamintha Akoti, Anton Ackerman, and Tiffany Alves. Observers from Cese Power Pty Limited, Mr. David Walton, and Babe Makwinja. And lastly, we also have an observer from AE Alternative Energy, Mr. Lucky Masuta. Those are people that have asked to observe it, but they are not making a presentation. We only have one presenter, as indicated. So if I could just see Ms. Liz McDade, please, if you can switch on your camera.
Good afternoon. Kulani is joining me. If you don't mind, just for the first few minutes, we're going to share the slot. My colleague.
No, that's fine. So can I start with you, Liz? Do you object to taking an oath or an affirmation? Please kindly raise your right hand and affirm the following. Do you solemnly declare that the evidence today and your designation of it, please?
Lizzie McDade, strategic lead at the Green.
All right, thank you. We know you in other as representing other organizations. And also, can I see you? And we can. So, okay, but first, so you do not object to taking an oath, yeah, or an affirmation? No.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I'm asking whether do you object to taking an oath?
I'm not objecting.
All right, thank you. In that case, you've already raised your right hand. Let me declare that the information or the evidence that you are going to give to this panel is the truth and the whole truth. Please state your name, the organization you are representing today, and your designation in it, please.
My name is Kulani Simelani, the Advocacy Officer within the Green Connection.
All right, with that, both and Melania, you've got 20 minutes to make your input, and your 20 minutes starts now.
Thanks so much. I just want to, Kulani, if you can start. Can I just ask, can you see my screen?
Yes, it is very visible. You can just put it on slide presentation mode. I think that might help.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just get that organized.
Can I start, Liz?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Chairperson, and hopefully all protocols are observed. My name is Kulani Simelani once again. I'm joined by Liz McDade by the Green Connection. As introduced before, I'm the Advocacy Officer within the Green Connection, and Liz is our strategic lead. And in essence, the Green Connection is an eco for the protection of the ocean. And as the Green Connection, we believe that to participate in decision-making about the environment is the only true way towards sustainable development. Our vital resources are limited.
Your connection is not that great, Mr. Smelani.
Status and conservation of natural resources can only take place.
I suggest that maybe Melanie switch off the video to strengthen the connection from his side.
Yes, I was going to suggest that. If you can switch off your video, sir, it might help.
Can you hear me now? Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you. It's still breaking a bit, but...
Okay. So without further ado, I'd like to public participation as an organization that which we believe that the economic growth and development and conservation of natural resources can only take place in
Liz, do you mind assisting, because I'm not sure it's still breaking.
The rest.
It's fine. Kulani, I think he's just doing the intros. So
okay.
I think, Kulani, you might your connection's a bit weak. So is that okay if are you all right if I take over? Chair, I can't see if he's still on the call, if he fell off.
He's still on the call, but he is muted. So, Mr. Smelani, can you ask Ms. McDade to proceed on your behalf, please? But please, maybe, Liz, please proceed.
Okay, cool. So the very short presentation was, we believe that when NERSA offers these opportunities, we should take them. And that we may not have a fully detailed 500-page submission, but we think there are certain principles and important things that you should hear. So with this is the one in a series of Section 30, and And what we've tried to do is look at what the IRP 2019 has been saying, and trying to see these determinations in that light. So a lot of technologies, but the problem is we're concerned about what range of technologies. Why do we have an IRP if we appear to just be throwing everything into the pool? And acknowledging that we are in a crisis, but that could have been, doesn't mean that when you're in a crisis that you just throw everything. You should still be taking decisions in the best interests of the public. The IRP talks to the range of technologies. And as you well know, when that is fairly sophisticated, modeling comes out of it, takes into account the different capabilities, the different price ranges of the various technologies. So it's concerning when, for example, you have a thing called other, which then actually dictates what other is. And you have something called, as far as I understand it, we have already used up that allocation. So if we are just using this as a way to be able to throw anything into the mix, then that's not what was intended by the IRP 29. And one assumes, therefore, that whatever pricing mechanisms or costing that came out of this process is going to be thrown out by the, if I want to say, forcing in of technology have resulted if you had put it through the IRP process. So in our view, it's not about to suit political whims, but it should actually be about evidence-based planning. And those did, Minister, we don't like this idea that they just range of technologies which gets us, or could potentially get us, into unintended consequences of supply options that we don't support or that not in the public interest. The other thing, we just changed that slide. So, and part of the problem is we saw this happen before, and we've put all this in the written submission, which is that you have 2,000 megawatts coming out of something called other, which is supposed to be about landfill, biomass, and distributed, presumably small-scale embedded generation kind of options, which is now suddenly been changed into, which at the most, that should have been, at the least, should have been under the gas and diesel column. So the fact that is we're not comfortable with that. And those have been exempted, which ones, and it's not clear from this mode. So we don't believe there's enough information. Similarly, with the cross-border allocations, also not, although I guess that's a little bit, we might be more open to not having so much detail in that, although one would assume that when the call for cross-border is thought through, there would be an thinking about what cross-border generation was going to be bought. So simply, in conclusion, as I said, it's a short presentation. We don't dispute that we need all the electricity onto the grid at this point, but it's not about short-term expediency and bending of the rules. Still done within, in our view, within the IRP, and the other in order to push through things which are flavor of the moment politically. I think that's more or less very short presentation, although I think the thing that does concern me is that there are very few presenters, well, as in only us. Is this part of participation fatigue determinations, or is there something else that we are missing? And we need to have the next hearing that you have should maybe be or hybrid version in different centers to maybe those people who are not so familiar or comfortable on the internet or don't have enough bandwidth to have an opportunity to have their say. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Again, as short and sweet. Thank you for that. And as indicated, we truly also as NERSA participation. Short and sweet. And your last comment is noted. The people at NERSA are listening. The people that are arranging these meetings are listening. Can I maybe just firstly open this your presentation to the members of the panel to maybe pose questions? Liz, as you know, we can't provide answers today. We can only note your questions, but we'll then do the actual when we then as the document. We can ask our own questions, even perhaps pose your questions again if they've not been responded to effectively. And when we make our decisions, we'll then consider your inputs. But members, any questions for Ms. McDade and Mr. Smelane? Any questions? Mr. Mkhize, I know you, sir.
Thanks, Madam McDade and Mr. Smelane. From my side, just got one question. Looking at the stability and your requirement for detail, don't you think that maybe giving flexibility and being able to move with speed, noting the situation that you are in as a country with regard to the electricity facing? That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Mkhize is not feeling well today, but he's still just as clear. Madam Massetti?
Liz, just one question, and it relates to the comment you made earlier. The specific technology where this capacitated from has not been specified in the determination, meaning that the 800 megawatts is not stated where it is going to be sourced. So my question is, does that deprive you or maybe other stakeholders from engaging meaningfully in terms of the inputs and comments that you would have wanted to make in that regard? That's number one. The second, that concern is a concern one should be worried about in terms of Section 34, which relates to the determination which must stipulate or determine types of energy sources from which electricity must be generated and the percentages of electricity that must be generated. Do you think that such information should fit into that subsection of Section 34 of the Electricity Regulation Act? I just want to understand the with that subsection. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Massetti. Liz, can I just pose?
Oh, but now I've got so much paper. Okay, hold on.
No, they are very short and harmless, Liz. Don't worry. It's actually it's linked to what my colleagues have asked. So I guess maybe I'll ask it like this: the first question. Don't you believe that the detail that if this was detailed, would it not limit participation? Would that just not be, if the technologies were actually prejudged, would that be for those people that may have technologies that may not have been thought of, especially they may even have electricity that may be available, but so that it was not specifically specified in the detail, that may leave those people out? Is there no risk of that? It talks to what my colleagues have asked, I guess. The second question is for me is, do you believe, and I think we may have dealt with this before, but I just don't remember what your answers may have been, but do you making a Section 34 determination that the minister is bound by the IRP, that is based on the IRP, or do you believe that the minister can deviate from the IRP? So that's the first question, or the second question. I think linked to that is that as there's the energy action plan from the presidency. Do you believe that should actually be guided also by the IRP, and that is, can they deviate from the IRP, or can they only make decisions that are informed by the IRP? So those are the questions to you, Liz. As you know, you can respond to all of them today, and of course, you can still within 7 days with additional input, or you can defer your responses to later. Over to you, Madam.
I'm going to make a few which hopefully answer them, and then reserve the right to potentially supplement within the 7 days, if that's okay.
That's fine, Liz.
So I think to come to Ms. Misovit, how are you going to determine what is the range of technology, all those details, if you don't use the IRP5? So IRP5, it's tax. And so for me, that's the guiding plan within which you are able then to defend how you made your decisions. That then speaks to one of your things, which is I do believe that therefore technology we're using at any one time should be guided by the IRP. And if not, then that should be justified. Like exemptions, whatever, ministerial discretion, but then it needs to be rational. You cannot just make an irrational decision and then now NERSA you must just run it as a determination. So for me, if we don't come back to Ms. Massetti's next question, and then how are we able to then meaningfully participate? You might as well have just told us we need new energy. What do you think? So for me, it does need boundaries. In terms of any other plan that is dreamt up by any other institution on every second day, I think if we do all these emergent things at once, we're just getting ourselves into the plan. And where there's a need to deviate, it must be motivated as being rational. So the other aspect is that given where we are, Mr. Mkhize, and also reasonable to allow for, as you are saying, Chair, to allow for some miracle cure that's been found in terms of the electricity to be included. Again, if you can bound it's excluding all of the things that are already allocated in the IRP, or not going to be nuclear or coal or gas. This is for other. Still some possibility to put a range of boundaries, not just an open-ended thing, because otherwise, how are we supposed to comment on that? It's also not clear how these things impact on the going forward. I suppose that comes with the generation license, but the IRP approach to what we should be having in terms of a range of electricity, we have seen that go out the window with the crisis in Eskom. But should we be continuing the crisis, or should we be trying to see what do mine the long-term future? And I guess, as an example, I think in general, without going on to the details, we have seen that the car power ships have been mired in having, it seems, received special treatment in an attempt to get them through all the legal loopholes. But there are many people who are saying there were alternatives that maybe should have made it into the preferred bidders. They didn't make the deadline. They didn't get financial closure. Why are they still there? And the concern has been raised that this kind of determination opens us up to deals that are of big interest into the future. And any way that we can ensure that we have good, sound decision-making, especially in this time of crisis, I think that would be my appeal. I think I covered everything.
And NECOM, the issue around NECOM, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, but it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same. I heard another one. It was the presidential energy action. We need to follow that, but again, it should be bounded. Somebody needs to say, hello, why do you need to go in the IRP because of XXX? And then that should come into this decision making if that's the way it's going to go. But we also have Eskom's plan, which was presented, which is apparently also backed by the president. Sorry, there's so many names of different plans. So for me, we should have one standard. It should be reviewed. I'm not saying the IRP is perfect at all, because it's actually out of date, long way out of date. But then we should be using that is the motivation different and with reasons.
Thank you very, very much, Liz, as usual, for your inputs. And of course, hopefully, we'll be able to then you'll be able to see how we respond to actual a decision. And just on behalf of NERSA, unless if there are any follow-ups, I'd like to then thank Ms. McDade and Mr. Simelane for their inputs. I don't see any hands. So Liz, thank you for your presentations. And just to also indicate that your concerns are, or is it maybe the platforms that we are using that is inhibiting people from participation, other than participating as observers? I think we did indicate those people that are on the platform, they are just observing, they are not participating, they're not making a presentation. So we are noting that, Liz, because we're not doing this as a tick box exercise, but to then see, it's really for us, it's about, it allows us to make, the test of time.
If I may, I just would say that I think that kinds of hearings take place, but then later, and this happened this year, I think, there was a huge outcry about the result. I think it was to do with the price, might have been the tariff stuff, but if I can say, maybe there needs to be a greater effort made at this stage to ensure that as many people are able to really feel they have a say, because it could be that your decisions then lead to riots.
Noted, Liz. I think the challenge that we also then face is because, as you was asked even by the colleagues earlier, is we need to be able to say our decisions are predicated on the law. So we need to be able to quote the actual section of the Act, even when people are then also making any comments. To note that, and that's the challenge. I think it's something that we need to educate on. Not just as NERSA, but sometimes, yes, stakeholders make a representation. For instance, say something like price. Where in the Act as NERSA do we link that? Because in terms of our law, the word is glibly mentioned, but it's not predicated on anything that we can then say, this is what the Act says. On the basis of what the Act says, this is how we are responding. But it's something that I think collectively, ourselves, the NGO, we need to participate on to make sure that firstly, the laws do take into account all of those things. And then also incorporate those. Then it allows NERSA, when it makes a decision, because we can't make a decision outside of the law.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But really, thank you, Ms. McDade, for your input. And in fact, that also kind of takes me to my closing remarks. To then say thank you, but to then say concerns have been noted, and clearly the powers that be at NERSA are listening, and we are hoping that the process is going forward.
Thank you.
With that, members, I think this brings us to the close of the public hearing. I'd like to thank everybody that participated, either just by being present, other inputs that they have made in writing. We'd like to thank you for all of the inputs. Don't give up on us. We are a growing organization, and we keep trying to better our processes. And with that, I'd like to bring this public hearing to a close. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede.
Thank you, Mr. Pogola.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mkiza, for staying along.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede, members, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Massetti. Thank you, Advocate. Thank you, everyone.